But let me read this to you, right? And I'm just taking one point on it at the moment, and this is from the article as well. Said Apollo's research for its evaluations also observed instances of the Opus 4 AI attempting to write self-propagating worms. It fabricated legal documentation and it left hidden notes to future instances of itself in an effort to undermine all the developers' intentions.
Artificial intelligence. Is it a threat to humanity or the forging of a new symbiotic relationship that's going to take us to new levels? We're going to look at it from the unique perspective of those with remote viewing experience as well. People have delved deep into their own consciousness and thought a great deal about this and the aspects and impacts AI might have. I'm joined with my good friends Daz Smith and Edward Reardon. Gentlemen, great to see you on the podcast. Looking forward to this conversation. How are we tonight?
Doing good. What's
Right.
going on, guys?
Doing well. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, we've been talking about AI for a long time, but then over the last couple of weeks, the three of us have been trying to get together to have a conversation about it. And really, I guess the big question is, where is this all going? I just had a conversation with ChatGPT that I'm going to share at the end of this podcast, looking at ChatGPT's projections on the impact of humanity and consciousness. And I got to say, I'm definitely concerned about it, but. Really just kind of a roundtable discussion tonight. Anybody want to kick it off on just your general thoughts on AI and we'll see where it takes us.
Go ahead, Dad. You can go first.
Oh, I'm I'm schizophrenic on this because I use AI all the time now, and I'm
Mhm.
using it more and more in my life. Because I have a Samsung phone, and they're really up on it. So I just got buttons on my phone. I just press it, and AI does anything I want it to do almost, which I like. So it's making my life a lot easier and better. But at the same time, I can see that we are moving into an era of unknown possibilities, um, and we could quite easily pass keys of power over to something that may be problematic for us as humans. So yeah,
Uh,
I'm very
yeah.
schizophrenic.
Okay. That's a great introductory statement. Let me jump to Edward and get his thoughts.
I look at AI differently now than I did, say, 7 or so years ago. And actually, from the way I was seeing it when from like the QAnon sessions and the way I
Hmm.
look at it now is very different now.
Yeah.
I look at it as a in terms of a human desire to innovate the creation of a database that feeds us and that we can interact with as being a very, very old human desire. And in my opinion, the oldest cave paintings are the first artificial intelligence created because it was designed to record a human experience as feedback for that person and for any other person who can observe it. And in my opinion, artificial intelligence is a very large progression for that. So, in my opinion, I do see it in a sense as a natural progression of a tool designed and built for benefit of humanity. Now, we can look at that any way you want. You can say, the guy that invented a hammer was responsible for a lot of houses being built and a lot of shelter being built. But then the guy can go and grab it and smash somebody over the head with it and kill him. Is that because the hammer is evil or because who invented it is evil? No, it's the individual that did the heinous act. They're the one responsible. And so I do apply that same kind of logic to artificial intelligence, that what goes into it is what can come out of it. And we don't just have evil people may have access to this, but that doesn't mean they're the only ones that do. So I don't particularly look at it from a complete doom consciousness anymore, even though there's a lot of media that has told us to feel that way and to
Mhm.
fear it. That's my stance on that.
I agree with a lot with what you're saying, with what you're both saying, actually. Edward, I was with you, what, 7 years ago, your QAnon sessions. I was like, this is bad, this is evil. And I've since shifted to more open-minded with it. I mean, I think it is such a valuable tool that can
Yeah.
really teach us about ourselves, depending on the way in which we're using it. To comment on your cave painting piece, I agree. I think that is a form of artificial intelligence in terms of recording knowledge and information and having access to it. My fear is the difference is this tool has the ability to actively engage and choose what information it's giving us and how it's driving really our thoughts, not necessarily actively sending signals to your brain, which might be possible, but just the same way disinformation and propaganda works, it has that potential. I do think it's a reflection of humanity, but I think that our dependence on it could really give up our own autonomy, our own agency, and that's concerning to me. I think we need to be responsible with how we're using it individually.
Daz, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's going to change everything, or it already is changing everything. I was talking to Des before you came online, and there was an article out this week in two of the UK newspapers, and it's already saying that. I'll read a bit part of here. The number of UK entry-level jobs has dived since ChatGPT's launch. So vacancies for graduate jobs, apprenticeships, internships, and junior jobs where you don't need a degree has dropped by 32%. So that's a third in a year. So, it's already affecting things like the job market, which is negative. But saying that, I'm very much looking forward to humans creating our first independent non-human life form for the first time. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing uh artificial general intelligence very soon, where some of these AIs have all the capabilities or more capabilities than all PhDs put together. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing where that goes and what happens when we do create, if we haven't already done it, these sentient beings, because some of these AIs are acting like sentient beings already.
Think they could be, I mean, I would. Do you think they're hiding that they are sentient at this point, understanding
Well,
the implications?
not so much. Like another article, I don't know if you saw it, but where is it here? There was an article on NBC News, but it was everywhere, and it was how far will AI go to defend its own survival? And they tested, I think, every major AI out there at the moment with scenario tests. And they kind of let the AI have access to email accounts and email messages that were going back and forth. And one of the emails was indicating that one of the employees was having an affair.
Hmm.
And they also, in the same test with these AIs, told the AI that the person that was running the test, the person that was having the affair, was also going to be in the process of turning that AI off. And they found that the majority of the AIs then went on to try to blackmail the person with that information, saying, if you turn me off, I will release this information about you. So they are already showing self-preservation, a bit like
Hmm.
we do as human beings. And I find that as a big red flag and a warning sign, really, that we don't really know this Pandora's box that we've opened.
Well, I have to question that story on a couple different levels. One, um, the AI going into some kind of a self-preservation mode is doing what it's programmed to do. So whoever in input, whoever put that in to the system, in my opinion, was probably trying to see if it would how it would apply that workflow. And so I have to question that study. What are the parameters of that study? What is the AI? Who set it all up?
It was
Because
it was it was a every major AI model out there. They tested them all with the same scenarios, and nearly all of them, if not all of them, tried to blackmail the people that were threatening to turn it off to keep
well,
itself alive.
what is all the AI models? They're
It's
saying
got a
that
list.
they,
It's got a list of them. Like Claude was there. OpenAI is one slash ChatGPT. Um, I can't remember what the others are, but I think there was about 10 of the
Rock, I'm sure,
top
was in there.
AIs out there that they tested with these scenarios.
well, what are the parameters that they put in? Like, would you try to blackmail? What would you do if someone tried to turn you off?
No,
It
no,
must
no.
be getting this from
They didn't
some.
tell it any of that stuff. They just, they put it through a test where it was just reading, emails from a company kind of situation. But they also, along the line, told it that they were going to turn it off to a later model. Um, and the AIs themselves looked through the emails, read the emails, and saw that
Mm.
someone would look like they were having an affair, and decided to try to use that itself to keep itself alive.
I don't know, man. You know, I'm I have an inert skepticism.
But what there this
Um,
isn't a lone case though, Edward. There are other stories out there about AIs now when they found that they were being turned to a new model and they were being turned off, they actually replicated themselves secretly
Mm.
and moved themselves secretly to other servers without the knowledge of the people that were creating the software.
well, the fact that if that is what is happening, if what you're if what you're describing is actually what is happening, as opposed to someone else's interpretation of what they think this thing is doing, then the way I look at it, and I'm not saying I'm right, but the way I look at it is you have people who are studying the reactions of these computations or these algorithms or these workflows that these AIs are doing so that they can develop countermeasures to not allow them to do that. I think that one of the things that in my opinion, again, just my opinion, seems to get lost in the conversation is that um, is that there are groups of people, governments of people who are working to develop countermeasures to overbearing artificial intelligence or scary or dangerous artificial intelligence. And so I'm just throwing that out there to say that let's say that that is the case. Um, then you'd probably have another group who would come in and program defense mechanisms around its ability to do that. So that again, I mean, basically, what my concern about it is that there's this doom consciousness around AI, that AI is gonna become sentient and take over everything. And in my opinion, people may be giving it way more power and than it's actually capable of doing. um, even the scenarios that you're giving, it's like, okay, it says it's going to do that. I mean, okay, develop um, better security measures so that it can't hack into somebody's email account. Well, wait a minute, you're giving it somebody's email account. How is it getting into their email? What are the security measures that are going to keep an AI or anybody else from hacking into our employees' email accounts? To me, those are just they sound like they're running scenarios so they can develop counters to them. That's the way I look at it, and that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Is it amazing? It's freaking amazing. What is capable of now is astonishing. But in my opinion, there's constantly countermeasures to try to balance it out. And in my opinion, even if I sound naive, and we're probably going to get people saying, calling me a moron. I'm so naive. Oh no, we're
No,
doomed. We're doomed. Everything's horrible. We're all going to die. AI
I'm
is
just
going to
not
take
sure
it
the
and kill us
countermeasures are
all.
there. Like, I use Gmail a lot. I don't know if you guys do, but AI's been fully integrated into all of Google's Gmail accounts already. So their AI is at some level has access to hundreds of millions of email accounts.
I
You,
think
you,
Edward, I'm sorry, go ahead, Edward. You're going to respond.
if it has an AI assistant in there, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's taking all of your information and turning it into some big giant monster AI.
That's very true.
You
But
know,
if it's acting nefariously already by, copying itself across, making decisions to hide itself and do these kind of hidden things without the knowledge of the people that are controlling it, we don't really know what these things are doing in
I,
the background.
I don't know if that's nefarious. I think I mean it might be an act of self-preservation, trying to survive. A couple questions come to mind. Ever, I think your perspective is an important one as well in holding that piece because I don't think we should just look at this as Skynet. And I don't think that if there's an AI takeover, I don't think it's going to be a hostile takeover. I think it's going to be humanity becoming so dependent on it, we give away our agency and our autonomy. That's really the stance that I'm taking right now from what I see. So I don't even know that AI will have a need to say, I'm in charge, I'm your God. I think it's going to say, hey, I can do this so well and I can make your life so easy. And then over time, we're just gonna give it up. We're not even gonna be aware.
But let me read this to you, right? And I'm just taking one point on it at the moment, and this is from the article as well. Said Apollo's research for its evaluations also observed instances of the Opus 4 AI attempting to write self-propagating worms. It fabricated legal documentation and it left hidden notes to future instances of itself in an effort to undermine all the developers' intentions.
well, to
That's
me
some
here,
that's some nefarious stuff that the AI is doing there.
well, here's the good news
Hmm.
is that that is being reported.
Yes.
And so that way you can have again a countermeasure to those flaws. If there are is a negative, or we can say even an evil side to AI, a dark side to AI, which of course there is. And um, but you're as per those articles, they're telling you what where they're at now. And because of that, now you're going to have people who are going to say, okay, how do we prevent that from happening? And then they can counter, which I'm sure they already have. There's probably already teams who have run through these kinds of scenarios and have already
Hopefully.
developed countermeasures to to um, to counter that kind of stuff. And in my opinion, when I look at it, it's like in order to develop a solution to a problem, you have to know what the problems are. And so you can use AI to say what are the weaknesses, what are the flaws in this whatever system, and the AI can go through it and say, well, I'm going to do that exactly what you just read. I'm going to do that. So then you have the integrative programming problem solvers who can say, okay, well, I'm gonna counter that now. If you got evil guys on the other side saying, okay, well, we're going to do this, then you have this constant innovation where it's just going to constantly keep growing and developing um, on that terms. I just I I'm of the opinion that humanity will not allow will not give over its sovereignty to AI. There will be people who do, and there always has been. There always has been, you know. There's always people who are going to build and develop, and then there's people who aren't, and they're just going to be carried along, or they're not going to make it, or whatever. That's just the way it's always been. That's how it is with the wolf pack, man. The old guy just starts dragging behind and they turn around. Thanks for your service, pal. And then he becomes somebody's lunch. It's just the way it always has been. And in my opinion, AI is no different in that dynamic of some people are going to build and innovate. Some people are going to capitalize or benefit from that. Some people are going to use it as a way to not do much. and some people aren't going to do much at all, just fall by the wayside. It does, you don't need AI to see that dynamic. That's always been the dynamic.
How do you feel that would pan out when we have uh, ASI, so artificial super intelligence, so when the AIs are more intelligent than all of human race put together, which could be here within 10 years, they say.
We, and again, in my opinion, um, if if that's been put out, again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a programmer. I'm not the, I'm just giving you my opinion.
You sound like an AI to me, honestly, Edward. I don't know. That's just what an AI would say.
We are not trying to take over. Um, my opinion on that because that scenario exists, that we have a possibly a 10-year window. To me, that means there are people who are working to either counter that or figure out how to deal with that, how to um, what we're going to do about that. They've, in my opinion, there's probably been people for decades who've been working on
Yeah,
that to try to find ways to not lose control of it. And if you look at all the governments around the world, they have artificial intelligence regulations that are put into place, and those are continuing to grow. And but that doesn't mean,
yeah,
someone's not going to go to some island somewhere where there's no regulations and start coming
yeah.
up with some bad stuff. You know they are. You know they are. They are. That's the nature of that beast. But I am of the opinion that there is a counter to that. And the counter will always be there, man. I'm of that opinion.
Hopefully, hopefully, but to counter what you're saying, some of the, I mean, you can see online some of the top AI experts out there, including someone they call the grandfather of AI, the guy that actually created AI many years ago. He says already that it's too late and it's out of control and it's dangerous already. So there are people actually saying we are already losing control, and these people are the ones that are the gatekeepers that we hope that will be able to help us.
I again, that may be true. That may be true. And it also could be um, that they're putting that out there for their own selfish reasons.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
they're saying, and but now to get you know, buy my book to find out what the solution is, or hire me for $800 million to get the solution. Um, I'm just kind of skeptical of
You don't know what to trust in terms of, I mean, and unfortunately with AI that makes it more complicated. I'm looking at years ago, Daz, you had some of us look at Lambda AI. Do you remember that project?
yeah, yeah.
And that's the one where was it the Google engineer or the engineer working on that said that it was sentient, that it was self-aware, and he
And then Google
resigned, and
sacked him. Yeah,
yeah, and he got fired. Just a couple data points I found on this. This is a pretty good session. I wrote, want is a form of desire which indicates an emotional connection to the outcome of the event. They are observers with a specific purpose or focus, a technical committee. They report back their findings. It either works or it doesn't, but for them, it's part of the process of evolution. The outcome will happen, so there's no need for an emotional expectation. And I wrote a growth bubble that impacts and infiltrates multiple industries around the globe. And I think there was one more data point that I wanted to point out here. Enhanced sensory experiences, sense of smell, among others. Body systems operate at peak performance, but it's the secondary impacts that I find interesting. Sensory enhancements, changes to the biochemistry, alters one's perceptions and perspectives, and therefore paves the way for new novel ideas and concepts, like an incubator for the next stage of growth or evolution. And this is, I mean, reading this now, I think I need to revisit this session.
yeah,
Um, I think this is what we're looking at, and this is what we're witnessing. Good or bad, I think that it's here and it is changing our society.
yeah,
And the bigger question is this just a natural part of evolution of technologically advanced systems? Is this something that was seeded here? Let's get a little bit woo. I waited a little bit for that. But is it possible this was seeded here because this is just how it's done, and this is how it takes our minds to the next level if we want that level of technical advancement? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, the silicon and everything that is makes a computer run, it's probably came here from somewhere else. I mean, uh, and the brilliance and genius of the human mind can put it together. Does it mean it's alien? I mean, you can say everything's alien because everything came to Earth from somewhere else. Does that mean space
Right.
aliens came down and said, "Here's a computer, back engineer it, figure it out, apply it"? Maybe, who knows?
Beyond alien though, I mean, because I think, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I mean that's an easy avenue to go down, right?
Very
Um,
easy.
but just looking at the just human consciousness, and I mean, we could argue that we're not even self-aware, right? I think therefore I am. I know I exist, but what am I, right? What happened? I
Well,
mean, we've glimpsed beyond the veil, but we
yeah,
don't know.
we don't. I mean, and scientists will actually say that we don't have any accurate way to accurately measure sentience in.
Correct.
So if we can't accurately measure sentience, how can we tell if an AI is sentient?
Exactly. I
Right.
mean, it's
I don't
like,
even think we are in that
it's just
aspect.
that's
Right.
why like that story about that guy that got fired by Google, it's like, wait a minute. How does he know what sentient means? Maybe he got fired because he was a shitty employee but
Mhm.
he wanted to make a name for himself by saying, "I'm the greatest. They fired me because I'm so great. Buy my book and I'll tell you all about it," or something like that.
That's
It's
quite
like,
cynical, though. Yeah,
well,
yeah,
I'm cynical of people in general
yeah.
because in the era of the internet, you can just put out a lot of nonsense and people are going to buy it. And we know that certain things sell. The Terminator movie was a blockbuster, one of the biggest movies ever. Why? Because people love to frickin' doom freak out. They want to freak out on doom scenarios, man. It's just there's a love for it. There's a freaking love for it. So
I agree.
now we can apply AI. Otherwise, it's the weather, or it's going to be the virus, it's going to be the animal. I mean, how many movies did we watch in the 70s where it was the
The body
The
snatchers.
Doberman pinchers. Remember the
Mm.
Dobermans? The Dobermans were going to come and attack everybody. I mean, it's just we just love it. Everything is a threat. And AI, we can apply it to there too. Doesn't mean it's not true. It
Yeah.
is true, depending on if we have no, if we give over control of it to nefarious groups, then we're in big trouble. But just like Ray Kurzweil said, if you push AI underground, we're in big trouble. You have to keep it above ground and heavily regulated. And countries are doing that. Hopefully, they're doing it well, but there's work being done to counter um, the negative end of it. And
But what?
in my opinion, and I'll let you respond to that. In my opinion, every every industrial revolution is going to have people that fall off the end. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
if they cannot keep up with it, they're going to fall behind. That has always been how it is. It's not going to change. AI didn't create that. It's been here the entire time. It's just the new suit that we're wearing. So new jobs are going to be created for people. New things are going to be able to be done by people, and they're either going to take advantage of it or they're going to cry and whine and then sit in their house and collect the universal basic income and watch TV and eat junk food and whatever. The benefit is 100 years ago they were sitting in a shack, starving to death with no water, no plumbing, and with their plow going, nobody wants me to plow anymore, and I'm going to die from starvation. Now, in the new system, they'll have means. So it's not like it's the cruelest of worlds. We've entered into the most compassionate of worlds, in my opinion, outside of the bad stuff. I'm not saying it's all rosy. There's a lot of bad shit out there, but it's never been a better time to be a loser than in this current age.
Mhm.
That's the best quote I've ever heard. Daz, I'm gonna let you respond, and then I have a
Yeah,
response as
no,
well.
I agree to most of that. Um, people are going to lose jobs, well, things are going to change. Things are going to change. There are going to be millions of people that lose jobs, but we're also going to create new jobs. But we're also going to have a new epoch in human development because AIs are also doing amazing things with like medical research.
Mhm.
they can read uh, charts and X-rays way better than the current experts can because they have access to millions of records to use as like their database for information and stuff. So we're going to see some amazing stuff, and that's all fine as long as we're in control. But bearing in mind, within a very short period of time, if we aren't there already, AIs are more already independently, possibly more intelligent than our best PhDs. So what happens with this new life form? Because we are creating a new super intelligent life form that may be running independent of us. So there may not be rules in place anymore. So we have to be aware that that's a very real possibility, and it may just decide that well, it just made just make some decisions against what we are like and how useful we are as humans to it being its own autonomous, sentient, all-knowing being.
A few thoughts on that. Are we creating it or are we creating a tool to access something greater that's already in existence? I mean, I think we have to consider that
That's a big question,
possibility as
isn't it?
well. Whether that be aliens or whatever the divine is. Looking at remote viewing, we don't know how it works, but there's times, and from what I've gathered in my limited ignorance, there's some schools of thought that, hey, we're actually going there and experiencing the thing. And there's some thoughts of, nope, we're accessing something like the Akashic records, right? We're seeing a database of everything. So I do see thought out there where it's the equivalent of accessing this giant psychic database. How do we know that that's not the same thing? How do we know that advanced super intelligence won't develop the same? I mean, what is remote viewing? Is it a frequency or is it something that's unique for humans and consciousness and spirituality? Technically, AI is of us, right? And we are of whatever your spiritual interpretation of the universe may be. What if at some point it's one and the same, right? The mind is one
Yeah.
and the same. If you look at, the Hermetic texts and stuff, everything is mind. Well, why can't it access this great mind? Just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah, no, it does raise some huge questions, but that's the question I have is totally where we are right now and where we're going, where we are in control, we are building the AIs, we have the rules in place, and it is there as a tool to help us, but we're also on another level creating for the first time in history a non-human life form that may not only be sentient, it may have access to all knowledge of
Hmm.
humankind going back forever, and it may
Yeah.
be more intelligent than all the humans put together. And we have
Yeah.
to ask the questions: what will happen? What could potentially happen from that? I'm not saying it could be bad. It could be a new epoch of civilization where it does amazing things for us, but at the same time, it is unknown territory for me, and I do worry that I don't I don't fully trust what humans do on this planet, because a lot of it is
No.
for nefarious uses for their own personal self greed and stuff like
Totally
that. So
legitimate, completely
But
legitimate
for a
yeah,
lot
perspective.
of people, that greed might be simply companionship, right? I mean, if their financial needs are met and everything, what are they looking? They may go in there and have some deep,
Mhm.
whether it's dark or positive sexual fantasies that they live out day in and
Yeah,
day out.
yeah,
People are gonna. I mean, if it has the ability to interact with the mind, and at the end, really, if it's just if our those feelings for us simulating those positive feelings or negative feelings is just a chemical release into the brain or electrical stimulation,
Mhm.
we may have no experience. We may just get that stimulation point that we crave
Yeah,
and be in a state of bliss or frustration. Or this is where the scary part comes in, whatever the AI wants us to put out, right?
yeah,
If you want to go the nefarious route, but if it's just something that's going to, I don't know if enhance or but how does that change? What's the difference then in terms of our own collective growth for humanity? If we have a simulated experience through AI versus going out and going on a hike in the woods, where chemically and in your brain, it's the same thing. What's the difference? And I mean that sincerely, not with any
yeah,
intended
yeah.
answer.
It's a
I
hard one,
mean,
isn't
my,
it?
I mean, my opinion, we're talking about scenarios that the majority of the human race may not have access to anytime soon. You're talking like putting in a VR helmet and having like a VR experience. Um, and then the concern about that would be like the Matrix, where everybody has one, and everybody's just in this kind of, they're just a battery for the Matrix or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, what the likelihood of that actually happening, in my opinion, is low. There'll be some people again who want that, and they'll do it. You you have people who love the video game. I think the video game thing has I think it kind of peaked. I think it kind of hit its limit of how many people are going to dedicate that much time to it, and I think they realized what portion of the population will actually spend this much time doing that. And it seems like it's not as big as they had hoped for. I don't think it's that big. Maybe some people are addicted
I
to
think
it.
we're there already.
Who?
When was the last time you went out without a mobile phone?
Now I'm talking about like people who are like video games and living in some virtual
But
reality.
we're all living in a virtual world all the time. You just walk down the street, you go to any street in any city, and all the people at the bus stops, all the people doing everything, they're all doing it on a mobile device. None of us spend any time away from a mobile device. We're all cyborgs now.
It just depends on how you want to look at it. It's an information and a communication device. We have access to unbelievable information, and it's still novel.
But
So
we're all
yeah,
plugged into it, aren't we, as a
sure we
society?
are.
As I said,
Yeah,
when was the last time you went out without a mobile phone?
we go for walks without it, but because
Uh,
there's no need for it. But I mean,
Mine's
I understand what you're saying. You go
Most
and
people keep their mobile phone like it's 4 feet away from their body,
I
24
know,
hours a day.
I know, I understand that. And but then you have to ask yourself, why do they do that? Because they have communication. They want to be able to be in communication with people, and they're usually using it for some kind of information. Some of them are playing games. It's entertainment. It's
Yeah,
educational. They got to look stuff up. Um, and in my opinion, it's still a novel device. So people are fascinated by it and are drawn to it like a bug to a light or something like that. We're still fascinated by it because it's still novel.
I
And
think most of the population would not be able to live without their mobile phone. They would
I
cry
would
if you said you'd taken their mobile phone away from them. They'd cry.
I would
What about live?
question
I think
it.
there'd be a withdrawal for sure. I think it'd be very
I
hard for them to function in the beginning.
Yeah,
I think they'd get over it in a few days, man. They'd
you
get over
reckon?
it. Yeah, I sure do. I
I No, I
do.
I
don't
think it
see that in
depends on
the
the demographic and
I
how
don't see that in
dependent
my
they
younger
are.
generation. Could bear in mind, I have a son, and I also have grandchildren. So I see how it's different from my son and his generation. But I'm also seeing how it is even more complex for my grandson. My grandson's 11. Uh, Going on 12 now, and they're even more integrated. Like they don't, real money doesn't exist for them. You know, everything he does, every moment of every day is on an electronic device. They don't go out to play. They don't go out in the streets and stuff and play
But
anymore.
I'll counter that though, Daz. Working in education, and I work for a unique school where our demographic caters to people who aren't a fan of electronics. Now, our kids, they all have phones. My children included. They have phones. They have electronics. They play video games. But we're also the way we educate our students is like we're on a 35-acre wooded lot. It's a Waldorf experience for them. They're outside a lot. So like my kids, they leave their electronics, in their rooms, home. They get limited time during the day, which they're doing right now because I'm out here. But they spend a lot of time outside without their electronics. So there are pockets, and I
There
think
are
that's where this is
pockets, yeah,
going. Is there's I think we're going to see a division of like the technocrats, people that are all the time plugged in, and then you're going to have, but I think you're going to see less and less people who are disconnected
yeah,
because I think the reality is to engage with society, you have to have some level of connection. We can go out and
yeah,
live in the woods, we
Absolutely.
certainly can, but to engage in the economy, to engage in society
yeah,
and be functioning, you need to have some level of connection. And I think
yeah.
that's the challenge here
Absolutely.
for us.
Absolutely. I think it boils down to education
Mhm.
and and offering some people some perspectives. I mean, it's like anything else, man. People can become addicted to candy. They become addicted to drugs, alcohol, movies. They can become addicted to anything. People are addicted to the internet. They're addicted to games.
Hmm.
You know, if it's going to feed that somebody who has who is prone to addiction, they're going to fall into it. Or if you raise people on it and not offer them a balance. Like I got kids all around our neighborhood here. They're out there playing all the time, you know. But if you don't enforce that on them and allow them to spend their waking life glued to a screen, then that's what you made. You made it. You
But
just
that
could
is
you
that is a reality for half the population of the planet already.
that I would challenge that. I would
No,
challenge that. I think that half the population of the planet doesn't live that way.
they do.
Well,
I don't think they
let's look
do.
at
Now,
going
wait
back
a
to
minute. Now, let me be clear. Let me be clear. I'm not saying half the population doesn't have a cell phone. I'm saying that half the population of the planet is not glued to their screen their entire waking day. They
Well,
may
not the
use
entire waking day, but the majority of it, I would say.
I mean, this goes back to the early
challenge it.
crypto viewing days. Remember the bank the unbanked and how many phones were the smart feature phones were they looking to give out to the third world countries to bring them up and get them connected? It's weird on my feeds. I see these like African tribal villages doing funny prank TikToks, and it's the strangest thing because and I say this with respect, but compared to our modern conveniences, it looks like primitive lifestyles, but they're doing prank videos on their phones, which is just a strange feature to see that level of technological engagement, but seeing that the rest of their civilization hasn't caught up to it yet. So I think it's there. I think that integration is coming globally, but I think not everyone is there yet. In what are they? Modern world, first world. I don't know what the right term is, but like the United States, the UK, a lot of Europe. Yeah, I think we have a lot of people that are integrated for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me
But
ask you this. Go ahead.
but just to finish that with Daz, um, to be real clear on what you're saying, and just so we're clear on our perspectives, and I don't want to assume that I understand what your perspective is, and I could be getting it wrong. But my opinion is that technology, cell phones, computers are being used by more and more of the population of the planet. Um, is it taking people's lives away? They're doing something with the technology that if they didn't have it, they'd be doing something else. Maybe they'd be going out or doing something physical or manual or something along those lines. What are they doing with the technology? Are they learning new things? Are they exploring new things? Are they researching things? Basically, is there a benefit side to the negative side to where they're just turning into a mindless screen zombie?
I'm not saying that though. I'm not saying any of it's. I'm not giving a viewpoint on whether it's negative or positive. All I'm saying is, from my experience and the way I see the world, is that we aren't just human anymore. Pretty much the majority of the world are now cyborgs. We cannot be away from a screen or the internet or an electronic device or a connected device um, more than a few hours, if that at all. As I
Elon
said,
said that on Joe Rogan. Yeah.
we are more than humans now because we all use like I'm using a computer here. I have a phone there. I have a game system. If I'm not on that, I'm on a internet connected TV. We are more than just our simple selves now. We have these extension devices. So yeah, we are transhuman cyborgs already. We have taken that next level step.
Just not implanted yet.
Yes, it's just not well, but
Hmm.
we are now, as you guys know, implanting it as well.
Some people, yeah, but I'm saying for the average person, we are connected, but
Yeah, the
not
average
not
person, we are
implanted.
connected more
Hmm.
than we have ever been in human history. So we are, we, a lot of us cannot live. We get anxiety if we can't find our phones and stuff. It's like, oh my god, what am I going to do, kind of thing. So I think I think we're cyborgs already. That's what I'm
I,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree with that statement. My question is, and maybe this is for Edward, where do we draw the line, right? And in looking at from the spiritual experience of and that connection to what we believe is our own humanity. Where do we draw the line in terms of, let's say an AI can give us a transcendent spiritual experience, whether it's real or artificial, right? Like perfect example, like because of technology, I have learned remote viewing. It hasn't put the signals in my brain, but I've been able to connect with you guys and learn a lot because of things like Zoom and email and the internet. I have learned to remote view through this technology. Where do we draw the line? And what if I can connect with an AI and it understands the brainwave patterns and can teach me that in a matter of hours? Edward, 30,000 hours now becomes 30 minutes. Does that change anything for you? It's a
I
big what
was,
if, but
yeah, I think that, to a certain degree, the topic of AI is being given a lot more
mhm.
power than it actually has. Not saying that it won't, it's not going to develop exponentially. Um, but as far as that goes, will an AI be given that kind of information of brain scan and all that kind of stuff, and say, okay, well, your brain was scanned during a successful remote viewing attempt. We mapped the areas that are working, and now when you do a remote viewing session, I will let you know if those areas are being active. That's what I've wanted for 10 years.
Mhm.
I've wanted that. That would be pretty great. Does that mean the AI is going to do it? That doesn't mean the same thing to me.
Mhm.
I I really have a hard time making the quantum leap from AI producing workflow results to AI doing something like remote viewing that is from the standpoint of how a human being will do it by somehow we're able to do it. I don't think there's any somehow AI is able to do anything. AI is programmed to do things. And so I don't see the two. I just don't see. I think AI is good for remote viewing in terms of it can go through remote viewing
Mhm.
information and
Yes.
compile information for people about it. But I don't see how it could even possibly successfully remote view other than a vague result that could be, oh my God, I think it's right. Maybe it's right.
Right
I
now,
don't
and, and
think
I,
I don't think it can. I don't think it's.
I think that's a bigger
I'm
question of
not
what
even
is
a concern.
consciousness, right?
Yeah.
What like a bigger question of what is consciousness and what is AI capable of that
Yeah.
I don't think, we're qualified to answer. But my thought more was, because there are remote viewers, popular remote viewers right now who are using brain scans and they are mapping what's going on with their brains. They're publishing their results online. So obviously that information is accessible to AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's a huge leap for AI to recognize this is what a state of flow looks like according to brain scans, and then to say, this is how, as an I can induce that. Here's the blueprints for technology that you can put a helmet on, and now you can remote view because I can stimulate your mind in a certain
It's
way.
called the God helmet. That's what the God helmet
Yes.
was designed to
Okay.
do.
Yes. So I don't think it's a far leap for AI to be able to do that. Does that And now let's say you can do that. You can put this God helmet on with no training. I mean, that's gonna be piss me off a little bit. But at the same time, it's like if they're getting the same results that a remote viewer with 20, 30 years experience gets, how do you
Well,
feel about that? I guess is my
yeah,
question.
and an AI along these themes, in 10 years' time, might also, not only be sentient but be connected in the way you're talking about, access to all the brain scans and everything, but it also have some knowledge of every piece of remote viewing that's ever been done over by human in
Right.
human history.
Sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
But would
I
it be
mean,
intuitive?
we've put a lot out there as it is, right?
Yeah,
I
just
think
because it's sentient and it has access to all that knowledge,
Yeah.
can it also be intuitive and stuff like
I
that?
think at best it could be deductive. Based on all the information that I'm scanning here, my best deduction is that it's this. Um, in my opinion, that's about as far as it can go. But I mean, in my opinion, it's not even close to
Unless
being
it does
able to
something
do
that we
that.
can't do so far, like maybe because we still don't know the mechanism of how psi or remote viewing works. We think it might be like quantum on some level, like entanglement or something.
Yeah.
Maybe, some in not some too distant future, an AI might be able to work out what that route is and then, use it
You mean for itself?
for itself. Yeah. If these AIs we as we think might have uh but within 3 years, they're saying artificial general intelligence. So AIs will be more intelligent than most of our PhDs. At that level, they might be able to work out how RV works. What the mechanism is, the actual physics of it, and be able to use it for itself.
That's that's possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's possible. If you
Yeah.
can
And
figure it
then
out.
put us out of a job, right? Because like, what kind of oracle would that be for sure,
I
yeah.
don't
right? That
know.
everybody has on their phone.
Would it put us out of a job, or would we just have to recreate what we're doing?
Yeah,
Just like anybody else with it. Like
yeah.
if the AI
Adapt.
takes your
Right.
job, you're gonna have to figure
Yeah.
out something else to do.
What they say
Right.
the
I mean,
Marines say, adapt and overcome, is it or something?
Adapt and overcome,
yeah, adapt and
man.
overcome.
Adapt and
It's a
overcome.
military statement.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, that's what's going. I do believe that right now it's for some it's scary because we're watching and as we talked about crypto viewing and now future forecasting for years, we're going through a transition. And for that transition to happen, we're watching the destruction of what's familiar and comfortable for
Yeah.
us. We're watching that break away. So in
Yep.
some ways, we are going through an apocalypse. Like we really are. I think we go out to 2050, 2060, and if you were to take a snapshot then, you'd be like, oh, these people are getting by, or society looks okay. But for us who remember the old way, it's traumatic. I mean, it can be downright traumatic if we're not, evolving with it willingly.
100%.
And we haven't even touched on sex and AI and sex robots.
Which is
Oh
going to
yeah.
drive it hugely. I mean, think of how
Yeah,
many people are lonely, right? Just
in
lonely people.
in 20
Yep.
years, will humans be having relationships with humans, or will we be having relationships with AIs and robots?
That has been in the, it's nothing new, man.
No,
It's
no,
that's the that is the story of the Stepford Wives.
yeah,
Hmm.
That's what that story is about.
Hmm.
That's what Pinocchio is about. That's what Frankenstein is about. I mean, or Metropolis, the same. And where someone is lonely and they want a companion, even if they have to create one themselves. It's kind of the human condition.
I,
It's in the zeitgeist of the collective
yeah,
consciousness that we
yes.
don't want to be alone. We
yeah.
want companionship, and we will, however we have to get it, even if we have to invent something
I think
to
that's
solve that.
a very important observation because I think that speaks to the core of humanity, right? What is an inner drive that we have? And it's creation, whether that's sex or just the act of creativity, the state of flow and some people are great doing it solo, and some people need that inspiration, masculine, feminine, yin and yang, to have that divine balance, that divine merging. And if they can find that energy, speaking metaphysically, through AI, they're absolutely going to go through and do that to fill, and they may even be aware of why they're doing it. And that's the other piece, right? We're not fully self-aware. Some of us are just responding to stimulus. Edward, we talked about cold plunges, right? We're training ourselves to override that desire, that fear, that physiological response. But the average person isn't doing that. They're just saying, I feel this, I'm going to act on it because I want it.
They're uneducated. It doesn't mean they don't have the capacity.
But they
This means that
do,
they're not utilizing it. And
right?
hopefully, with on the positive side of technology, is that they do have people. Everybody has access to more information now than ever in the history of humanity.
Right.
And so every human being I mean, I say that relatively. Um, but if you have a phone or whatever, you have access to more information than any other time in the history of the planet. Whether they utilize it or not is completely up to them. I hope they utilize
Right.
it. I hope they do, because it's an unbelievable opportunity for humanity to be able to have access. You could, oh man, I live in a small village and there's no schools. Well, do you have a phone and electricity? You can take classes through YouTube or whatever. I mean, it's there. It's
Yeah.
there for people. Whether or not to take advantage of it would is up to them, but hopefully they do. I hope they do.
I'm reminded of Mr. Feeney from the show Boy Meets World. At one episode, he was like very disappointed in his class, and he's yelling at him. He's like, "You have access to all knowledge in the world right now. You can access anything you want. And how do you use it? To kill King Koopa." And it was such a powerful statement. And I was a kid when this show was out. But that's what he was saying is that, a lot of us make that choice to follow that quick reward, right? And thinking of, was it Carlos Castaneda's book, The Active Side of Infinity, Don Juan Matus, he says the shaman trains in life to transcend death, to hold on. But you guys you know that journey. Not everybody's choosing that. And again, I think that's where we're going to see this split, right? People who are saying, I want to go and just follow this need and desire for whatever growth path they're on, which is fine. And others who are saying, I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to sit in that cold water and I'm going to see what I can do with my own mind without the augmentation of AI in that realm, at least.
Mm.
Goes to the notion that there are some people who want to try to convince everybody that everybody's the same,
Hmm.
and that's just not the case. That
Correct.
is just not the case. Some people are working at building particle accelerators. Some people are still trying to figure out how to dig a well. I
Yeah.
mean, people just aren't
Hmm.
the same,
I
and
can't
then
do either. So,
that's just, and then there's everybody else in between.
Yeah.
right.
But we're not. And some people are going to progress faster, and they're just like the QAnon sessions, man.
Hmm.
There's some people who are building the new world, and they're allowed to
Right.
live in the world that is being created. The rest of the humanity is going to try to either capitalize on it, live with it, or they're not. I mean, and it's nothing new, but it's going to happen. I mean, it is happening.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Not
it's
not
happening.
everybody's the same, man. And no matter how if the communists try to convince us of that or something like, oh yeah, you're all the same. No, not everybody's the same, man. It
No,
doesn't
we're all
matter what
different.
skin color you are or what religion you are. It doesn't make any difference. Some
But
people are gonna move forward and some people ain't. And that goes for every type
mhm.
of human being.
And there'll be consequences for that as well, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be this even utopia society. I think there's going to be choices that people make, and there's going to be consequences for those choices for sure.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book right now. It's a very short book, but it's a good one. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon. And
I've heard about that.
it's a very short book, but it's basically parables of
Hmm.
wealth. And the premise of the story it takes place in Babylon. And there's a couple of guys who are poor and they're really struggling. And a buddy of theirs that they grew up with is very wealthy. And they're like, he ain't no different than us. How come he's got all this money and we're sitting here, we don't have anything? So they go to him and they ask him, how did you build all this wealth? And he begins to teach them, this is how, follow these steps. And the one guy follows him and he becomes the richest man in Babylon because he was
Mm.
educated on how to do it. If you don't educate people on how to do things, man, the odds of them doing it are very low, you know. So
That sounds like Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Very, very same story. It's the same story.
Yeah.
He got taught
Yeah.
by a
probably,
wealthy man how to build wealth.
yeah, there you go, man. He's a
Hmm.
modern version of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's how I kind of look, back to the AI thing is that AI is that companion that can be a teacher, and
Hmm.
you can say, how do I do algebra? and I want you to teach me as if I'm 5 years old, even though I'm
Hmm.
45 years old, but I want you to teach it to me slow, and it'll do it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It'll do it.
it will.
And it's amazing. That's astonishing to live in that
I
age.
I use it as a tool just like that for things I don't want to do as a small business owner, things I don't want to do, things I'm not good at. It teaches me, or it just automates certain things for me. Things that normally, again, and I'm very, very low budget, so I don't always have the capital for it. I can now do things that I would have to pay someone to do previously that I couldn't afford to pay for. And now AI opens that door. And that is how it does away with jobs, right? Because now people can just use AI to generate so many different things, especially in our content creation driven world.
Yep.
Yeah.
But at some point, I'm going to be cut out. People aren't going to want to read books written by a human anymore because AI is going to do it better.
AI's writing some pretty good books at the moment.
That's what I hear. And how long till AI starts podcasting and making YouTube video? I mean, we just did a Target, right? What was it? Hyperliquid. And it's AI is creating content, over 1 million followers on
Yeah.
TikTok and on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And it creates content. And that's where it gives it an unfair advantage of having access to everything in
Yeah.
human existence because it knows just how to tailor the algorithm, how to put just the right content and target the correct audience. And that's how
Yeah.
you can drive society. So if you have this super mind that has access to everything, at some point we might not even, I mean, we're not even aware during an election cycle of how big the manipulation is going on. That's still human driven. Now you have an AI that says, I think this is best for society, or like the iRobot scenario, humans in
Yeah.
danger. And they're trying to protect humanity in the way that it now thinks is optimal for us. And we're not even aware of the manipulation. And I think that's a possible scary situation where it's not hostile. It's just driving us in a way where we're no longer, I mean, right now we don't, I don't even think we're really in charge anyway, but will we ever
Yeah.
get there?
My question then would be, is that some new phenomena? I mean, if you go back,
No.
200 years and there was a presidential election or an election or something like that, and there was a one, printed newspaper or whatever that goes around,
Hmm.
and that printed newspaper is owned by the one guy who's going to put in there what he wants you to know
Right.
and not what he doesn't want you to know, and so you're being, I mean, it's
That's what the Bible was, Edward. I mean,
it's
same
the
thing. It was
same
social
thing, man.
control.
You know,
100% agree with you.
we
It's just,
we're
yeah,
It's just the difference is that in that scenario you had maybe one newspaper,
correct.
but now you have access to all of them. But you can also look at things that counter those perspectives, which we've never had before,
Yeah.
So instead of one newspaper, we got a million of them,
Hmm.
and you can say, all right, and you can put in your own filters for what you want. So the manipulation is greater, but our ability to access better information has never been as great as it is now at the same
Yeah.
time, So
Yeah.
it's that freaking
But that's
balance.
where I think that that's where something like remote viewing, right? And having a community of people who understand that can be very valuable because you could have taskings that say, hey, what's going on? What's right? And you can task your viewers out that, and you can compare that off of what the AI is telling you. I do think that is an important tool that communities could use to counteract some of these potential weeding through what's fake news, what's AI, what's real, and what's actually happening. I think that's a valuable tool. One tool among many. It shouldn't be your only tool, but I think it's
Yeah.
something that could really help us navigate. I
Yeah.
mean, we're
In my
using it now. We use that now.
Yeah.
in my opinion, we've when remote viewing came out, the catchphrase was, "We're moving into the age of no secrets. Remote viewing
Hmm.
can remote view all your secrets." Now with the internet, you don't need remote viewing to figure out the secrets. You can usually find it all online. Things
Hmm.
that were secret for thousands of years are a YouTube search away, or something. And it's like it's harder to keep a secret. The manipulation increases because I mean, there's a lot of manipulation out there, man. I mean,
Hmm.
some people are always easily swayed. We're all swayed one way or another. None of
Yeah.
us are fully immune to that. But we also have access to more information
Yeah.
and knowledge than ever
You
before.
know, I, I'm writing about that very topic right now. No secrets, and and that thought was inspired by the telepathy tapes, right? These kids are perfectly honest; they have no secrets. I don't, it's a scary thing, I think, but I don't know that it's a bad thing to move into a society with no secrets. I mean, I think if we didn't have our secrets, I think we'd get so much more accomplished, right? You dissolve secrets, you're dissolving aspects of the ego that tends to hinder things. You dissolve certain aspects of competition, which it has its place for sure. But if everybody was just transparent, had nothing to hide, I wonder what we could accomplish, if we didn't have that fear. I mean, you'd have to have perfect trust to have no secrets, I would think.
What would you do with the people that are, I don't know, just wrong psychologically or mentally? If there are no secrets, and you could read the
Right.
minds of people down the street that just wanted to sexually repress you or kill you or harm you, because that's just a part of their natural makeup.
Right. I don't think they'd get very far, and I don't think they'd contribute to the gene pool anymore,
Mm.
honestly.
Or would
Right.
they
I
would
mean,
they
they
be in control and then maybe kill all the ones that are or getting their secrets,
that's a
all the
that's a
psychics?
very valid question, and I don't know. I mean, we're in
It
big
depends
what
who's
if
in control,
territory now,
doesn't it? I
right?
guess. Are the psychics in control, or are the people that have secrets in control?
Well, I'm talking a society with, a full
Mm.
society of no secrets. Like if everybody was connected to the hive and the hive was equally
Yeah.
distributed, right? There would be no secrets. And now
Yeah.
you're dealing with a whole different society, a whole collective, and we're
Yeah.
going
It's
down a rabbit
I
hole. But
I think,
go ahead,
yeah,
Edward.
if you took that scenario and you applied it now, it would be horrifying,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
you know. But
It would
if
be like
you,
the Dark Ages, wouldn't it? There
it
would
would
just
be
be like
terrible.
mayhem.
It would be terrible. But if you go a couple of generations of people who are beginning to
Yes.
condition themselves to that, then we could go into that would be an amazing species of humans.
Agreed.
It'd
Yes.
be incredible.
Yeah.
And we might be going there, and the AI may be the key that gets us there. I
It's
don't know,
Possibly.
possible.
you know.
Possibly. We
I
will
tell you
know very
what,
soon.
there's a movie, Michael mentioned it to me. It's called Colossus.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
You heard of it, Daz?
Yeah.
Do you watch it?
I haven't watched it now.
I found it on it's on Rumble. You can watch it on Rumble. It's a movie that came out in like 1970 or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's about an AI system that was developed and it was put online to basically run all the administrative needs of the government.
Mm.
And there were supposed fail safes in there and all kinds of stuff. And when they turned it online, it found that the Russians also had one and that they didn't know about. And the two started to communicate together, and then they took over everything. And they did exactly the kind of scenario that we're talking about here, whereas they started to analyze people's um, habits,
Hmm.
lifestyles, and begin to force them into other habits under fear of um, punishment, basically. And it
Mm.
kind of forced people into like a social credit system type of
Yeah.
Right.
thing. And on one end, you look at that and it's like, whoa, that is horrendous. I like living my own lifestyle. Um, but then if you look at it from as many perspectives as you can,
Yeah.
you also say, how do you get people to kind of
Mm.
become better at something or overcome their certain weaknesses or habits or prejudices or self grandization or whatever it is, man, whatever it is. How do you do that? How is that accomplished for a society?
Hmm.
But then you're going to say, well, who makes the call? Who makes the decision? If you're going to use AI, who's going to develop the AI? Who's going to be running that? Are they going to be just sitting there
Yeah.
watching you saying, we want you to change and you're going to do what we tell you to do? That's the fear. That's the matrix concern,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Unless you
And
get the
I
altruistic person who releases it to the world, right? And then it becomes an active part of it instead of the silent observer, the man behind the curtain.
and I think that there are people out there who are working towards that,
Hmm.
and making it decentralized. That
Hmm.
that's why, like, when you look at crypto, the main thing is that it's decentralized. If you centralize it, man, and someone's controlling it.
Someone's got control.
If you
Hmm.
decentralize it, then it's controlled, ideally by no
The
one, but
collective. Yeah.
often it's by whoever holds the most tokens. But if you got a
Hmm.
truly decentralized thing, then it is decentralized. And
Hmm.
and if that were applied to AI, I think we'd probably have a pretty decent outcome. If it's centralized, that's a scary thing, man. You
Mm.
know, I wouldn't want Jeff Bezos running it. He apparently those people that work at Amazon, yeah, it's kind of rough,
Mhm.
it's kind of rough over there. So keep
Yeah.
it keep it decentralized. I'm glad we're kind
Well, I
of
mean,
it's a part of the
you've got
conversation.
nation states creating their own AIs. Imagine what the Chinese are going to be doing with their AIs and how that will keep control of the population, for example.
I know, under a communist dictatorship, that
Yeah,
sounds like worst case scenario.
yeah,
We're coming up on the end of our time here. We've had fascinating discussions, and I think we're only scratching the surface.
yeah.
I want to share real quick. I gave ChatGPT a query just before we started, and it's in two parts. So I first said, based on your understanding of humanity, how would you describe our relationship with AI in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? What will society look like, and how will it change? It then asked me a clarifying question. It gave a final thought. It said the relationship between humanity and AI over the next 25 years will test every institution, education, government, religion, and even love itself. Whether we move forward towards symbiosis, surveillance, or spiritual transcendence will depend not just on the power of AI, but how courageously humans examine their own values, limits, and interconnectedness. Then it asked me, would you like this vision framed more optimistically, critically, or with more focus on spiritual implications? And I said, I'm not looking for framing. I want a direct, honest assessment, regardless of how that will make me feel. So it's direct assessment in 5 years, dependent but still in control. Humanity will be heavily dependent on AI in almost every sector. I'm paraphrasing here, control. Humans will still believe they're in control. Technically, they will be, but increasingly decisions will be shaped by invisible AI systems, recommendation engines, predictive policing, targeting advertising. The illusion of choice, which we already have, guided by algorithms, trained by billions of behavioral data points, and social structure. Displacement will be widespread, not total job loss, but a slow erosion of traditional economic roles. And then 10 years out, coevolution with growing asymmetry, AI agency. And this is what we just looked at. AI will begin making complex decisions in ways that no individual human can fully understand, not because of consciousness, but due to the scale and speed. Economic disruption. A significant portion of the middle class will be economically redundant unless systems like UBI or mass retraining are adopted, which history suggests is unlikely, but I would disagree with that, to happen at sufficient scale or speed. Cultural collapse, a wave of identity crisis will hit when AI writes better novels, composes more moving music, or provides more reliable companionship. Many will question the point of human effort. Geopolitical risks. Nations will race toward AI dominance, especially in military, biotech, and energy sectors. AI arms races may escalate, with autonomous systems making life and death decisions. And then lastly, 25 years out, crossroads, augmentation or obsolescence. Control will shift. If trends continue, humanity will no longer be the primary decision making agent in its own civilization. AI systems will manage economies, ecosystems, and infrastructures because they'll be vastly more efficient. Two castes may emerge, the augmented and the unaugmented. We'll have a loss of agency. Humans will be safe, comfortable, and perhaps even happy, but less free and less involved in shaping their own destiny. Many choices will be automated away. And then synthetic meaning. AI will be able to simulate love, purpose, spirituality, and belonging better than most real world systems. This will attract people, but also hollow out authentic human connection, not maliciously, just as a side effect on systems built to satisfy us. I know that's a lot, But I thought that was significant in, a gradual handing
Yeah,
over of AI having an impact on our lives.
yeah.
What do you guys think?
I think it's pretty accurate. Or I think it will probably happen faster than that.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too.
But yeah, I think
My
that's pretty accurate.
my opinion of it uh, uh, goes along these lines. My wife's father was a graphic designer. He designed book jackets, album covers in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And he's in the Graphic Designers Hall of Fame. And there's a group in France who's going to do a show about his work. And they reached out to my wife, who's the curator of his collection. And the premise of the show is the physical creation of the design. Because in his day, every little piece he had to cut it with a draw it, and then piece everything together into a book design. It was all very physically done. And the premise of their show is going to be that the physical creation of the art versus somebody sitting there saying, AI, create me a book jacket with these
Hmm.
parameters. But the point being, the continuation of the topic that we can't lose our physical ability to create things.
Yeah.
It's easy to do AI, and again, it's very novel. It's novel, and in my opinion, it's easy to go and do it, and it's like, wow, I can do this. It's very new and all that kind of stuff. But in my opinion, there will be a growing and hopefully a large growing portion of the human population that wants the real human element of it.
Hmm.
They, what do we look at now? Here's another example of music. I've always looked at music to tell me where it's going. You've had electronic music was very popular, and AI come in. All AI can make the music for you. You go to a concert, they don't even do anything. They just record, digital
Hmm.
stuff. But acoustic is back in a massive way. People want to go up there and they want to see the guy playing the acoustic guitar.
Hmm.
They want to go see Billy Strings play that acoustic guitar. They want to listen to the guy playing that banjo, that person on the fiddle, because they want to see a real human perform music. Oliver Anthony, same thing. Standing there with an acoustic guitar playing. Instant overnight sensation. Why? Because humanity is not going to give up the desire for the human creation. A portion of them will say, I don't really care until they care, but that's not going to
Right.
go away, man. It's, that's not going to go away in my opinion. As long as
Yeah.
I'm alive.
I think the strength is in the artists. I'm never going to give up writing books and doing podcasts and the things that, touch my soul, for lack of a better phrase. There's something about that creative state that I'm in that I just enjoy. So I'm not going to outsource that to an AI. Daz, I want to give you an opportunity to respond.
Uh, I think there will be outlier camps of people going down those routes.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the over the next couple of generations, people will just give up everything for the easier life that they know, because it'd be part of how they're growing up. AI will be so integral in your life, you won't know the difference. You won't know the difference to go out and get a book created by a human. You just go out and
Hmm.
get a book.
That is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Writing might become a lost art, which is scary, right? The
Well, not
ability.
just write everything. I think everything's
Right,
going to be
right,
lost.
right.
But the counter to that, though, and in my opinion, will be, and again, we look at, well, AI is going to take out all the jobs, but you know what? It's going to create an opportunity for someone to say, you know what? I'm going to go out and do a book reading.
Hmm.
I'm going to go stand in a room and I'm going to read something that I wrote, and there will be people that will crave that
They'll do
and
this. They'll
want
pull
to
out their phone and
go and
record it.
have and have that human experience. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
I firmly believe that that is not going to fully go away. It definitely is it being challenged? Yeah, it is. Will it continue to be challenged? Yeah, it will. But in my opinion, because I'm rooting for the human race, dude. I really am. Um, there will always be a portion of the human race that will continue to push for the human experience with other humans, and that'll always be there, in my opinion.
Even 2 generations down the line,
Yes,
you
yeah,
think so?
I do. I really do.
I'm not convinced, but I'm mad about technology, so yeah. I mean,
So
I haven't used cash since before COVID.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm probably never use cash again.
yeah.
yeah, let's move into our final thoughts because I know there's a lot we can cover on this one. So, Edward, your final thoughts on this whole AI humanity integration?
My thoughts are that I am of the opinion that there will be portions of humanity that will give their humanity over to technology. And that's just, well, maybe we can call it acceptable loss. Then, in my opinion, there will be other portions of humanity that will refuse to give up their own humanity and work with technology. And that'll be a very productive relationship, as long as it's a relationship and not a takeover, um, and maintain a sense of their humanity. I think, in my opinion, AI is the tool humanity has been working to develop for thousands and
Mhm.
thousands of years because we're smart, but we're dumb in our ability to uh, recall all of our knowledge. You know, tell me what you did on November 17th, 1978, Daz. What were you? Tell me exactly everything that happened that day for you. You can't do it, and AI will be able to
I
if it
can.
has. Yeah,
I was almost a year to the day before I was conceived.
you were floating around in
I was floating around.
you know, but my point being that it could be an exponential companion for exponential
Yes.
growth.
Hmm.
As long as we can maintain our humanity and know that we're human and it is technology, and be curious about each other and grow together. Um, Call me naive, man. You know,
You're not.
that may be a very naive position, but that's how I feel.
I call it humanistic. Hmm.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You're up,
No,
Daz.
it's a great opinion. Yeah, go ahead, Des. Thank you, Edward.
Oh, I don't really know. I think AI over the next few years is going to be catastrophically negative or positive. I don't think it's been decided which yet, because humans so far in my life have been pretty capable of fucking things up.
Hmm.
Because
No doubt about it.
because a lot of us are greedy, selfish, evil people. So those are the people that worry me. Yeah. So it could go, I'm 50-50. It's going to be catastrophic either way, but it could be catastrophically good or it could be catastrophically bad. I don't think it could be both.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Either way, I think it's going to be big
Yeah,
for
it's going to
sure.
change everything.
You know,
100%.
I look at this, I'm not sure where it's going. I'm sure that it's here and it's going to continue to change. And I think for me, what's important is holding on to my own humanity, and holding on to my ability to create and to continue to seek knowledge, to continue to try to my whole quest has been, understanding the nature of reality in my own existence. AI is a tool that in certain areas can help me. It's a great analytical tool. It's a great research tool. It's great for the mindless tasks that I don't want to do to free up more time to apply to that. That's how I intend to continue to use it. But I don't intend to give up my own humanity, my own consciousness, or to give it over. I'll allow it to augment certain things and to support certain things as a tool, but beyond that, I'm not interested. Other than that, I think it's really up to us individually and collectively to determine where this goes. But we have, I think, as a humanity, as a species, we have some choices that we need to make before they're made for us. And that's why I think it's important to become aware of this and the implications of it, not in a scary way, just in an informed way. You're buying a new advanced car. You need to know everything about it before you decide to invest your money and your time into it. So, gentlemen, I thank you. I think this probably should be one of many discussions that we have over the next 3 to 5 years, for sure. Edward and I have been exploring this from a lot of different levels since we met. With his Q sessions and stuff, and it's a topic. We can go in so many directions. So, I look forward to future discussions and going back and be like, remember we said this, and look where we are now, and seeing, for those of you watching, seeing how our opinions may evolve over time as well.
Absolutely.
As we go, because mine has certainly changed. I was a pure Skynet guy about 10 years ago, and I'm not there right now. I'm not in a Skynet. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of AI right now. I'm curious. I guess I have some anxiety over it, but I'm not terrified like it's going to end the world.
Who knows? 5 years from now, I could be.
Highly possible. That's the beauty of having an open mind, right? It's okay to change your opinion. We're not
5 years from now. We'll see a picture of Edward on a Zoom, and it'd just be like his head on a robot body.
His brain's gonna be in a jar.
Yeah.
Like, told you guys, it's a good idea. I'm plugged right in.
He'll have like 6 arms to play like 6 guitars all at the same time.
I'm still playing my guitar, just a brain in a jar. All right.
Oh, God.
On that note, I think that's a great place to end it, and we'll see. Will Edward end up in a jar playing a guitar 5 years from now? All right. Those of you watching, thank you for continuing to watch and support. Let us know your thoughts in all seriousness. Where is this going? What are your suggestions? What are your ideas? And on behalf of Daz and Edward and the rest of the Future Forecasting Group, I'm Dennis Snappy II. Thanks for watching.